Hey guys, welcome to Think Woodworks. My name is Izzy Swan, and I'm just going to take a quick minute this morning to talk to you guys about pocket hole joinery. I posted a video a couple days ago about cutting freehand pocket holes using a step bit, and I got a couple interesting response from that, and I wanted to kind of address that and maybe talk about pocket holes for a quick second. Matthias Wandel had mentioned that he refuses to get a pocket hole jig, but he might try the freehand technique. Or traditional joinery is a good option. I absolutely agree. I like traditional joinery and I use it on my fine furniture. But right now I'm working on this barnwood side table or end table, and I want to get this built as quick as possible. I'm not going to take a lot of time to put in a bunch of fancy joinery when I can put the whole thing together with pocket hole screws very quickly. I'll sell this piece for maybe $190 to $225. So taking 3 or 4 days to build it isn't an option. I need to be able to build this in 6 or 7 hours to make any money at it. Well, what I'm doing right now is I've already cut some pocket holes in this stretcher, and this is a really pithy piece of barnwood. It's not, it's still solid, but the ends where I cut it were fairly pithy, so I'm not just going to throw a screw in there and plug it, because that'll fall apart. So another option, and this is what the Egyptians did. Pocket hole joinery actually dates back to early Egyptians. This is not new technology. This is not new joinery. In point in fact, it is traditional joinery. I've seen many pieces 100 years old, 150-year-old with pocket hole joinery and face frames and other applications still holding together just fine. So the argument that it's not as good or doesn't hold as long as traditional joinery, I disagree. I've seen too many examples. In fact, I think the oldest piece I've seen, I saw a piece about 8 years ago that was 220 some years old, and it had pocket hole joinery in the face frame and in the drawers, as a matter of fact, in the back of the drawers, and it was holding together just fine. It was very solid. So the argument that it's not a long-lasting type of joinery, I absolutely disagree with that, and I've seen way too many examples. So you can argue with me until you're blue in the face, it's not going to work. So anyway, what the Egyptians used to do with pocket hole joinery is they would start the pocket holes, and then they would continue the pocket hole in to the wood like this. I'm just going to go ahead, and this is going to fall apart because it's fairly pithy, but with the dowel in there, it'll sturdy it up. So I've just continued that pocket hole right into the leg. And you see how some of that stuff fell apart. And I'll just take a dowel from this point. I'm going to take a dowel. I'm going to cover it really well in glue. And just shove it in there. And tap it in as soon as I find my hammer. There it is. Go ahead and wipe some of that excess off. And then I'm just going to cut it off and I'll wait for this to dry. Once this glue dries, I'll actually take my flush trim bit, and then I'll trim that off and sand it out. So this is another really cool way you can use pocket hole joinery. Especially if you're adding something onto a piece of furniture afterwards, if it's an afterthought, like this shelf. So it's very sturdy. It's also a good technique for using in softer woods like cedar and pine. And in this case, this pine is over 100 years old. It's old barnwood, and there are some softer spots. And it just so happens where I cut these in were soft spots. So after that dries, I'll trim it out, like I did on this side. See if you can show you these. So once I'll sand that out, and then this will all get a stain on it. So it's a good option, guys. If you need to build something quickly and you want it to be sturdy and last a long time, pocket hole joinery is a very valuable option. You don't want to spend 3 days on something you're only going to sell for a couple $100. You want to get it done as quickly as possible, do a real good quality job. And I'm telling you, I like pocket holes. They're a good option when you're trying to get something done fast.